Right now, the most powerful tool for a writer or, a marketer or even a project manager to just completely automate their daily workload is hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, but you probably aren't using it.
Exactly. You aren't using it because it is heavily disguised as this, like, hardcore software development environment.
Which is incredibly intimidating if you're not a coder.
It really is. But today, we are doing a deep dive into the massive new update to the Claude Code desktop app.
Right. And to be clear, right out of the gate, we are talking about a specific tab inside the main Claude desktop application.
Yeah, just a tab.
Yeah.
But this is not just some fresh coat of paint or a minor UI refresh.
No, not at all.
We are looking at a fundamental ground-up shift in how humans and artificial intelligence actually collaborate. Because, think about it. For the last couple of years, we've all been playing this exact same frustrating game of digital ping pong.
Oh, the copy-paste logistics.
Yes. You have your work open in one window, like a document or a spreadsheet, and your AI chat box in another. And you copy the text, you switch windows, you paste it into the AI, you type out your prompt, you wait.
You wait some more.
Yeah, and then you copy the result and you paste it back.
Yeah.
You aren't actually doing the work at that point.
No, you're just managing the logistics of moving text around.
Exactly.
And it is the defining bottleneck of the current generation of knowledge work. Because we have these incredibly advanced reasoning engines, right?
Yeah.
And yet we restrict their utility by forcing every single interaction through a single-line text input box.
It's crazy when you think about it like that.
We basically act as the manual laborers, just hauling context back and forth across the screen.
Wow, yeah. We're the manual laborers for the AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what Anthropic is doing with this new Claude Code interface is dismantling that bottleneck entirely.
Right.
They are moving us away from that old chat interface and ushering in what we call the agentic workspace.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we get into the really granular features, we have to look at the underlying philosophy of this shift. And the very first thing you notice, like immediately when you click into the Claude Code tab, is the aesthetic. It immediately shifts into dark mode.
Yeah, it's striking.
It really is. It's a completely different visual environment than the standard, bright, airy chat windows we're so used to.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the aesthetic choice carries a lot of functional weight.
Really? How so?
A dark interface inherently feels more like a command center or a professional development environment.
Right. It feels serious.
Exactly. It signals a focused work environment rather than a casual chat toy where you might, ask for a pancake recipe.
Right.
For developers, dark mode reduces eye strain over those 10-hour coding sessions. But for the general knowledge worker, it acts as this huge psychological cue.
Like you're stepping into a terminal where serious cognitive labor is about to happen.
Precisely. You're clocking in.
So, looking at the underlying architecture of this new space, it seems this entire workspace is built on a very specific framework, like a 3-pillar system.
Context, agents, and outputs.
Right. Which makes perfect sense logically.
Yeah.
Because if you strip away any one of those 3 pillars, you are basically right back to just chatting with a bot.
And that distinction is crucial. Let's look at how those 3 pillars function mechanically in this new environment, starting with that first one, context.
Okay, yeah. Let's break that down.
In the chatbot era, context was strictly limited to whatever you could manually type or paste into the browser window before you hit a token limit.
Which was always so annoying. Your message is too long.
Exactly, but in an agentic workspace, context is your actual file system.
Wait, really? Like the actual files on my computer?
Yes. It is the folders on your hard drive. It is your cloud repositories. The AI isn't just looking at a disconnected snippet of text anymore.
Oh.
It has read access to the entire ecosystem of your project. The documents, the code files, the image assets, the historical logs, everything.
So instead of feeding the AI like a single paragraph and asking for an edit, you are pointing it to a massive folder containing 100 chapters and saying, hey, understand the narrative arc of this entire book.
Exactly, which is huge. But to do that, you need the second killer, which is agents.
Right. And I think people get confused by that word.
They do. We often conflate the word agent with the AI model itself. Like we say Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the agent.
But it's not.
No. An agent is much more than just the foundational model. It is the model combined with specific overarching instructions, the structural harness it operates within, the environment it lives in, and crucially, the digital tools it has access to.
Ah, Okay, so the tools are key.
Right. An agent can execute tasks, whereas a model just predicts the next word.
I love that distinction. And if the agent can actually execute tasks, well, that leads directly to the third pillar, outputs.
Exactly.
Because in the old chat interface, the output is just text sitting on a screen. You still have to copy it.
Right, it's passive.
But here, the output consists of actual digital artifacts. The agent creates new files, or it modifies your existing architecture.
It generates executable scripts.
Yeah, or it takes concrete actions like pushing a commit to a live server. So just to summarize for everyone listening, context flows in, the agent processes it using specialized tools, and tangible outputs are generated.
That's the formula for modern digital labor. And this specific formula has actually been pioneered over the last year by these niche third-party development tools.
Right, like Cursor.
Cursor, Conductor, Anti-Gravity, Orchestrate. They've proven that this model works brilliantly for software engineering.
I find that whole landscape so fascinating because it highlights what Anthropic is actually doing here.
How do you mean?
Well, to use a physical analogy, the old AI chat UI was basically a walkie-talkie.
Right.
You push the button, ask a linear question, and you get a linear answer over the static.
Over and out, yeah.
Right. But this agentic workspace is like stepping into a mission control room. You are overseeing specialized departments that have their own data feeds and their own execution capabilities.
That's a great way to visualize it.
But my question to you is this. If tools like Cursor and Conductor already use this mission control model, is Claude Code just playing catch-up? Or are they doing something fundamentally different by integrating it directly into their main desktop app?
It's not catch-up. It is a strategic normalization.
Normalization.
Yeah. Cursor and Conductor proved the paradigm was viable, right? But they cater to a highly technical power user demographic.
Basically just hardcore programmers.
Exactly. But by taking this paradigm out of niche software and baking it directly into the native first-party desktop experience of a foundational model, Anthropic is staking a massive claim.
Oh, I see.
They are placing the agentic workspace right next to the standard chat tab. This signals that they do not view this workflow as a fringe tool for hardcore coders anymore.
Right, they're bringing it to the masses.
They are normalizing the command center. They're effectively saying, this is the default way we expect you to interact with Claude in the future.
That makes total sense. It's kind of the difference between buying a highly specialized aftermarket modification for your car versus the manufacturer just building that technology directly into the dashboard for everyone.
Perfect analogy.
But, okay, you can have the greatest mission control room in the world, right? But it's essentially useless if you can't organize your missions.
If the data is disorganized, you're going to crash.
Exactly. If you just have 100 screens showing raw data, you are going to crash the rocket. So to actually execute, you have to organize the workspace. Which brings us to the structural elements of this new update.
Folders, sessions, and modes.
Let's start with folders.
Well, the organizational architecture is where we really see the daily friction of knowledge work start to dissolve. The left-hand navigation is structured entirely around folders or projects.
So the source we looked at mentioned specific projects like Orchestrate, Paccio, and Plaid.
Right. You create a master directory for whatever you are building, whether that's a software application or, say, a huge marketing campaign.
And underneath those project folders, you initiate what the app calls sessions.
Yes. A session acts as a dedicated workspace for a specific task within that broader project.
Got it. And the app features this really clean, centralized dashboard that summarizes everything happening across these sessions.
Yeah, it flags active sessions waiting for your input, and it highlights open pull requests.
Okay, let's pause there for a second and just translate for the non-developers listening, because a pull request is a term that sounds incredibly intimidating, but is conceptually very simple.
It really is.
Think of a pull request like a draft chapter of a book that a co-author has written. They are submitting it to you, the primary author, and saying, hey, I wrote this new section. Can you review it? And if it meets our standards, pull it into our official master copy.
But that is a highly accurate translation. It is just a formalized system for reviewing and approving work before it merges with the permanent project.
Exactly.
And what makes this interface so powerful is how you actually feed work into these sessions. You have input options where you can toggle between working locally or connecting to the cloud.
Okay, let's break that down. Locally means what?
Meaning the AI accesses files sitting physically on your machine's hard drive.
And the cloud option.
If you choose the cloud, you can authenticate directly into a GitHub repository.
Which is huge. It fundamentally changes that context switching problem we talked about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
But before we get into the friction reduction of that, let's translate a couple more concepts for our listeners, because you can select specific branches and create what they call work trees.
Right.
So for our non-coding listeners, a branch is exactly what it sounds like. It's a branching off from the main project. If you want to experiment with some crazy new feature, you create a branch so you don't ruin the original master copy if things go horribly wrong.
A sandbox, basically.
Exactly. And a work tree is just a mechanism that allows you to have multiple branches checked out and open at the very same time in different directories.
It lets you organize multiple streams of parallel work without them colliding into each other.
Right. So now that we have those terms down, why is it such a big deal that Claude Code can do this?
The fact that the AI manages these version control systems natively is a monumental shift. Just consider the traditional developer workflow for a second.
Yeah.
To fix a single tiny bug, a developer had to open a browser to view the GitHub issue, then open a command line terminal to run Git commands and fetch the right branch.
That's 2 apps already.
Then open a code editor like VS Code to actually view the files, and then open another browser tab for an AI chatbot to ask for syntax help.
So that is 4 separate applications just to fix one bug.
Exactly. The cognitive load required to hold the context of the problem while physically navigating between those 4 interfaces. I mean, it drains your mental energy before a single line of code is even written.
It's exhausting.
But by pulling the repository, the branches, and the pull requests directly into the Claude Code UI, the AI basically lives natively inside your version control system.
That's brilliant. We've completely eliminated the context switching. We've connected the repositories. The AI can see the files.
Right.
Now we need it to actually perform the labor. And this is where the interface introduces these operating modes.
Yes, the modes are fascinating.
You can put the AI into permissions mode, accept edits mode, or plan mode.
And these modes represent a really interesting psychological transition for the user.
How so?
Well, when you use a standard chat interface, your posture is essentially that of a typist. You feed in prompts, you sit there and wait, you copy text.
Right, you're just typing.
But toggling these modes shifts your role entirely. Take plan mode, for instance.
Okay, what does plan mode do?
When you activate plan mode, you are explicitly instructing the AI not to build anything yet.
Oh, interesting. So hold off on the actual work.
Right. You are asking it to survey the entire context of the folder, understand the desired outcome, and draft a comprehensive step-by-step architectural blueprint of how it intends to execute the task.
So you are stepping completely out of the typist role. You are assuming the posture of an editor-in-chief or like a senior project manager.
Exactly. You review the AI's proposed blueprint, you critique the logic, you identify blind spots in the plan.
And then only when the architecture is totally solid do you switch the mode and authorize the AI to actually begin execution.
Right. And the accept edits mode functions very similarly. The AI executes the plan, modifying files and writing code, but it surfaces every single change to you for final authorization.
So again, you are acting as a senior manager, reviewing the work of a highly capable digital subordinate.
That's exactly the dynamic.
Now, there's a highly specific control in the bottom right corner of the interface that really caught my attention.
Effort slider.
Yes. Alongside the drop-down menu where you select the underlying model, like choosing between Sonnet or Opus, there's this effort selector.
Yeah.
Conceptually, this sounds wild. It sounds like we are literally telling the AI how hard to think about a problem. What is actually happening mechanically when you slide that effort scale up or down?
So, under the hood, an effort selector dictates the allocation of compute resources, specifically what we call test time compute.
Okay, break that down for me.
Large language models inherently generate text auto-regressively, meaning they predict the next token one after another.
Right.
A low effort setting restricts the model to immediate, fast pattern recognition. It generates the first highly probable answer, and then it just stops.
Which I assume is efficient for, like, simple formatting or fixing a basic typo.
Exactly. You don't need deep thought for a typo. However, when you crank up that effort setting, you are instructing the model to engage in much deeper reasoning processes before outputting the final answer.
Wow. So what does that look like internally for the AI?
It might use techniques like a tree of thoughts, where it internally generates multiple different approaches to the problem, evaluates the viability of each path, discards the dead ends, and basically self-corrects its own logic before showing you anything.
That is wild. It is the digital equivalent of asking a human a question and saying, hey, just give me your gut reaction, versus saying, Take the afternoon, map this out on a whiteboard, stress test your assumptions, and bring me your finalized strategy tomorrow.
That is a perfect translation of what's happening. You are budgeting artificial cognitive endurance based on the complexity of the task.
Budgeting artificial cognitive endurance. I love that phrasing.
Thanks. And once the AI expends that effort and begins generating outputs, you need a way to verify the work, right?
Of course.
Which leads us to the modular interface design. It provides what is essentially a God view of the entire workspace.
Yeah, let's talk about the God view, because the interface in the top right corner houses this menu where you can deploy various panels.
Right.
You have previews. You have diffs, which, for anyone who doesn't know, display the exact character differences between the old version of a file and the new version the AI just wrote.
Crucial for reviewing work.
Absolutely. Then you have a terminal, a tasks list, and that plan panel we discussed earlier. And you can literally drag these panels around, resize them, and build a totally customized dashboard.
And that modularity is a strict requirement for this kind of workflow, because you need to visualize all three pillars simultaneously.
Right.
You need the file tree to see the context. You need the tasks and plan panels to monitor the agent's internal logic. And you need the preview and terminal panels to verify the outputs.
It's all right there. And there is a specific interaction in that live preview feature that I think completely redefines the capability of this tool.
The convex anecdote.
Yes. The AI can actually spin up a local development server to show you the website it is building, rendering it live inside the app. But it's how it handles failure during this process that is just so striking.
It really is a leap forward.
For our non-coding listeners, let's clarify a few terms quickly before we look at this interaction. Developers use frameworks to build applications. Next.js is a very popular framework for building user interfaces. Convex is a framework used for back-end databases and syncing data.
Yep.
And a bash script is basically a raw, low-level command typed directly into a computer's nervous system, totally bypassing any graphical interface.
Great definition. So with that context, the interaction documented in the source is just remarkable.
Walk us through it.
So the user instructs Claude to set up the live preview for the project. Claude scans the directory, detects both Next.js and Convex, and asks the user, hey, should I start one or both?
The user says both.
Right. So Claude goes to the terminal and attempts to execute the standard start commands for both, but it immediately hits a wall.
Why?
Because Convex operates differently than a standard local server. It watches local files and pushes updates to a cloud dashboard rather than running on a local HTTP port.
Oh, okay.
So the standard execution command fails and the terminal spits out a big red error.
Now, in the old paradigm, this is a hard stop.
Yeah.
The AI chatbot would output the error text and apologize. I'm sorry, I cannot complete this task.
Exactly. And then the human would have to stop coding, open Google, read the Convex documentation, figure out why the command failed.
Locate the specific configuration file in their massive project.
Right. Manually rewrite the bash script to accommodate Convex's unique architecture, and then try running the server all over again.
It's a huge detour. But the agentic workspace operates on a completely different loop.
It does. Claude reads the error output in the terminal itself. It cross-references that error against its internal knowledge of how Convex is architected.
Wow.
And then it informs the user, my command was incorrect because of how Convex handles file watching. Let me modify the configuration file and execute this via a bash script instead.
It just tells you how it's going to fix its own mistake.
Exactly. And then the agent autonomously navigates the system configuration file, rewrites the underlying code to bypass the constraint, and successfully launches the servers.
Okay, so what does this all mean? I mean, this is a profound transition. The AI did not merely write the code that the user requested.
No, I went way beyond that.
It encountered a volatile environment, hit a system-level constraint, reasoned through the specific parameters of a third-party framework, and independently modified the machine's architecture to achieve the overarching goal.
It bypassed the error without human intervention.
That is just, it's mind-blowing.
What we are observing here is the fundamental shift from prompting to delegating.
Okay, say more about that.
When you prompt an AI, the burden of intermediate knowledge rests entirely on you. You have to know that Convex requires a highly specific bash command, and you have to explicitly instruct the AI to write it.
Right.
When you delegate, you merely establish the final objective, start the preview servers. The agent assumes the burden of the intermediate steps. It maps the route, encounters roadblocks, and recalculates its path autonomously.
Like a GPS rerouting when there's traffic.
Exactly like that.
And having the terminal and disk panels visible during this entire process is what makes it tenable for the user. Because you can literally watch the terminal generate the red error text, and seconds later, you watch the diff panel highlight exactly which lines of code the AI is rewriting in the config file to fix it.
You are watching a digital brain troubleshoot the environment it is operating within in real time.
It's incredible.
And that transparency is the foundation of trust in autonomous systems.
No.
If an agent has the permission to rewrite system configuration files, the user absolutely requires a granular, real-time view of those modifications. The diffs panel provides the necessary safety net to allow for that autonomous execution.
I totally agree. However, as powerful as this God view is, we have to address a glaring structural flaw in this current iteration of the app.
The missing pantry.
Yes, it is a flaw so foundational it almost feels like a clerical error.
It's pretty wild.
There is currently no native file viewer built into the application. You can manage your folders in the left-hand navigation, you can look at the diffs, you can read the terminal logs, but you cannot simply click on index.html and open the raw file to read the code natively within the Claude UI.
It is a highly conspicuous omission for an environment billing itself as a comprehensive workspace.
It's insane. It is like hiring a Michelin star chef, building them a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art kitchen, giving them the best autonomous appliances in the world. But you, the restaurant owner, lock the pantry doors.
You can't see the ingredients.
Right. You aren't allowed to see the raw ingredients. You can't look at the carrots or the onions they're chopping. You can only look at the final plated dish or read a receipt of what they used.
That's a great analogy.
How does a company like Anthropic release a flagship agentic workspace without a basic file tree where a user can just look at their own text?
Well, the locked pantry metaphor is highly accurate. You naturally want the ability to inspect the raw materials independent of the AI's execution loop. But if we analyze the computational reality of building software, specifically a rapidly iterating beta, the omission is actually a calculated prioritization choice rather than an oversight.
Really? How so? Because honestly, it seems like displaying text on a screen is the easiest part of the software.
Displaying a few lines of text is easy.
Right.
Building a highly performant, fully featured native text editor that can handle a code base with hundreds of thousands of lines without lagging. That is an immense engineering challenge.
Oh, I see.
A true code editor has to execute real-time syntax highlighting, which requires complex, regular expression parsing. It has to manage massive DOM manipulation, updating the document object model in the browser instantly as the user scrolls through massive files.
Okay, yeah, that sounds complicated.
And it requires building the architecture for seamless, real-time, human-AI co-editing, managing cursor positions and keystrokes without latency. Building a native file editor is essentially attempting to rebuild VS Code from scratch.
Ah, so they basically chose to focus on building the brain instead of the filing cabinet?
Exactly. Anthropic prioritized their engineering resources on perfecting that core agentic loop. We talked about managing the context, integrating the tools, and ensuring the autonomous execution pathways were actually stable.
They needed to prove the new paradigm worked first.
Right. And the fact that the entire UI is modular strongly suggests that a native file viewer module is already on the roadmap. It will likely just be another panel you can drag and drop next to the terminal in a subsequent update.
That makes sense.
In the interim, they assume users will just keep their traditional text editor open on a second monitor to view the raw files, while Claude handles the heavy lifting in the primary window.
Okay, I understand the engineering constraints now, but the missing pantry still remains a significant friction point for me.
Fair enough.
However, it shouldn't distract from what the agentic loop is actually achieving. Because if this system is capable of autonomously troubleshooting its own server configurations and bypassing roadblocks without my input, it implies that it does not require my continuous supervision.
And that is the big leap.
Right. I don't need to stare at the modular dashboard all day. And this unlocks what I consider the most disruptive feature of the entire architecture.
Routines.
Routines. We are entering the era of the sleepless employee.
The introduction of routines in the left-hand sidebar fundamentally breaks the boundaries of traditional software applications.
Okay, so let's break down what a routine actually is. It's a scheduled, automated workflow.
Exactly.
The user navigates to the Routines tab, creates a new entry, and defines the parameters. You give the routine a name and a detailed description of the task.
You select which specific AI model is best suited for the job.
Right. And you define the permission mode, whether it can execute autonomously or if it needs to queue the work for your approval. You point it to a specific folder for its context, and then you set a chronological frequency.
You put the AI on a schedule.
Which is wild.
Let's analyze the software development use case first, as it perfectly illustrates the utility here.
Let's hear it.
A developer spends 8 hours writing new features, right? Traditionally, at the end of the day or the following morning, a senior engineer must conduct a code review.
Which sounds tedious.
It is. They have to manually read through the new commits, hunting for logic errors, security vulnerabilities, or inefficient architecture. It is a grueling, tedious process.
Okay.
But by utilizing routines, a developer can schedule the Claude agent and trigger a comprehensive code review overnight.
While the developer's asleep.
Entirely unattended. The agent activates at, say, 2:00 a.m. It scans the repository, identifies all the new context added that day, flags the vulnerabilities, optimizes the logic, and autonomously generates the pull request containing the corrected code.
That's unbelievable.
The developer arrives at their desk at 9:00 a.m., and the code has already been reviewed, corrected, and staged for final human authorization.
To understand how this works mechanically, though, we have to look past the user interface. Like, how is the app executing this if my computer's asleep or the app is closed?
That's a good question.
Are we talking about background cron jobs?
Exactly. It operates via background processes, often utilizing cron jobs or daemon processes on your local machine, or through API webhooks if you're connected to cloud repositories.
Okay, for the listeners, an API, an application programming interface, is essentially a digital handshake that allows two pieces of software to communicate without needing a graphical user interface.
Right. The agent doesn't need to physically open the app to do the work. It operates headlessly, using its tools to interact with the file system or the GitHub servers directly at the scheduled time.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because this is where the implications expand far beyond software development.
Oh, absolutely.
The source material explicitly highlights non-coding use cases for routines. A user can create a project folder containing raw content, connect it to external APIs, and schedule the agent to generate business assets automatically.
We are moving into the realm of asynchronous AI collaboration.
Yes.
The transition from synchronous to asynchronous collaboration is the true paradigm shift here. For the past 3 years, human-AI interaction has been strictly synchronous.
You sit at the keyboard, type a prompt, and wait for the generation.
Right. You are locked into a real-time, one-to-one dialogue that demands your continuous presence.
You have to babysit it.
You do. Asynchronous collaboration means you define the parameters, establish the context, and the cognitive labor occurs entirely independently of your attention. We are no longer prompters. We are architects of automated digital assembly lines.
Let's contextualize this for a non-technical user, just to show how powerful this is.
Sure.
Imagine a marketing manager who is completely overwhelmed by administrative synthesis. Every week they have a folder on their desktop where they drop the raw, messy, totally unedited audio transcripts of every team meeting, client call, and brainstorming session.
We all know that feeling.
Under the old paradigm, on Friday morning, that manager has to open ChatGPT, paste in transcript after transcript, prompt it to find the key takeaways, copy the results, and manually format a weekly company newsletter. It takes hours of synchronous labor.
It's a massive time sink. With this new architecture, that entire workflow is automated.
Completely. The manager sets up a routine in the Claude Code tab. They point the agent to the transcripts folder. The instructions are, every Friday at 4 a.m., read every new document in this folder, extract all actionable items, synthesize the key strategic decisions, format this data into our standard company newsletter template, and save the final draft in the Outbox folder.
The psychological impact of the shift really cannot be overstated.
I bet.
Consider the cognitive dread of waking up on a Friday morning knowing you have to manually process 10 hours of chaotic meeting transcripts.
Ugh, the worst. You start your day facing a blank page and a massive data entry burden.
Right. But with an asynchronous routine, you wake up, you open your laptop, and the synthesis is already complete. The newsletter is drafted.
So your role shifts immediately from a data processor to an executive editor.
Exactly. You spend your cognitive energy refining the tone, polishing the strategy, and executing quality control. It fundamentally alters the emotional valence and the energy expenditure of the workday.
It's freeing. But to execute a task like that newsletter or to push code to a live server, the AI cannot be isolated inside a local folder.
No, it needs reach.
It has to interact with the broader digital ecosystem. And that brings us to the final and most expansive capability of this new workspace: skills and connectors.
Connectors and skills are the mechanisms that transform this from a localized tool into an overarching digital operator.
Okay, let's start with connectors.
Connectors are native integrations with the external platforms that already house your company's knowledge. The platform specifically supports integrations with services like Notion, Slack, and GitHub.
So the AI can reach outside of its own interface. It can query an API endpoint, pull a massive brand guideline document from a company's Notion workspace, hold that in its context window, draft an asset, and then use the Slack connector to drop that drafted asset directly into a specific team channel for human review.
Precisely. It allows data packets to flow seamlessly across organizational silos.
That's amazing.
And while connectors provide the pathways, skills provide the expertise.
Right. Let's talk about skills.
A skill is a packaged set of instructions, environmental parameters, and tool use definitions that teach the AI how to execute highly complex multi-stage workflows.
So it's not just a prompt, it's a whole workflow package.
Right, and the community is already building vast libraries of these capabilities, accessible via repositories like skills.esh.
The source material actually highlights a specific skill developed by a creator called PLUA, Product-Led AI Development.
PLAID.
Exactly. The mechanics of this skill are absolutely fascinating. You download PLUA as a zip file, install it into a designated customized folder within the Claude directory, and instruct the agent to use it.
But what happens next is a masterclass in a concept called metaprompting.
Metaprompting. Okay, explain that.
Metaprompting is the structural foundation of complex autonomous execution. When you instruct a standard LLM to build an app or launch a marketing campaign, it immediately attempts to generate the final output.
Right. It just starts spitting out code or copy.
Because it lacks structured context, it hallucinates features, it writes conflicting logic, and the output just collapses under its own weight.
It's like telling a contractor to build a house, and they immediately start nailing 2x4s together without drawing a blueprint or asking how many bedrooms you want.
That is exactly what it's like. What the palette skill does is force the AI to halt execution and assume the persona of a rigorous product manager.
Oh, I love this.
Instead of writing code or copy, the AI initiates a guided interrogation of the user.
It interrogates you.
Yes. It asks highly specific questions. What is the core problem this product solves? Who is the exact target demographic? What are the non-negotiable features for the MVP? What are the technical constraints?
And then the AI gathers all those answers and uses them to generate a comprehensive product requirements, document a PRD, and a step-by-step roadmap.
Right.
So you are using an AI skill to instruct the AI to build the scaffolding and context that the exact same AI will need to actually execute the project later.
You are utilizing the AI to optimize its own future context window.
It's so meta.
It is. By forcing it to generate the PRD first, you ensure that the three pillars, context, agents, outputs, are perfectly aligned.
So when the AI finally begins executing the first step of the roadmap, it is constrained by the strict parameters of the PRD it just wrote itself.
Exactly. It dramatically reduces hallucinations and ensures the final output matches the initial vision.
Let's map this entire architecture, connectors, skills, and routines onto a granular, non-coding example to prove why this is the future of all knowledge work.
Let's do it.
Let's return to our marketing manager. They are tasked with launching a new product campaign. In the old paradigm, this requires opening a dozen tabs, reading old briefs, writing new copy, formatting emails, and manually posting updates.
It's a nightmare.
But in the agentic workspace, this becomes an orchestrated, multi-stage automation.
Right. Phase 1 is context.
The manager points the Claude agent to the local project folder and activates the Notion connector. They instruct the agent, ingest our company brand guidelines and the historical performance data of our last 3 campaigns from Notion.
Perfect. Phase 2 is skills.
The manager activates a marketing-specific variant of the PLA skill. The AI interrogates the manager about the new product's unique value proposition, the budget constraints, and the launch timeline. The AI then generates a comprehensive day-by-day campaign roadmap and a master messaging document.
And phase 3 is execution and connectors.
Yes. The manager sets up a series of routines based on the roadmap. Every Monday morning, use the master messaging document to draft 3 promotional emails and 5 social media posts. Do not publish them. Instead, use the Slack connector to post the drafts into the #marketing approval channel by 9:00 a.m.
The manager has effectively built an automated marketing department.
from scratch.
The AI pulls the context, plans the strategy, executes the deliverables, and routes them through the appropriate communication channels for final human authorization.
It's just staggering. And here is the ultimate irony of this entire ecosystem we've been talking about.
What's that?
Right now, to execute that brilliant marketing automation, the source explicitly advises users to utilize the Code tab within the Claude app rather than the Cowork tab.
It is a striking juxtaposition.
Isn't it? The most capable general knowledge work environment currently available is hiding behind an interface branded exclusively for software engineering.
Yeah.
I mean, if you strip away the intimidating nomenclature, if you just ignore words like diffs, pull requests, and bash scripts, the underlying mechanics of the Code tab are exactly what every professional desperately requires.
Context plus task plus tools equals output.
Exactly. It is the universal equation of digital labor. So my question is, why does Anthropic obscure this revolutionary workflow behind a label that actively repels 80% of the workforce? Why not merge the tabs and give everyone the agentic workspace right now?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a highly calculated deployment strategy.
How so?
Anthropic understands that autonomous agentic systems are incredibly powerful, but they are also unpredictable in these early stages.
Right, they can break things.
When an AI has the tools to modify files and execute commands autonomously, things will occasionally break. By restricting this architecture to the Code tab, they are utilizing developers as a massive, highly capable beta testing cohort.
Because developers have a higher tolerance for friction.
Precisely. Developers are accustomed to debugging complex systems. They read terminal logs for a living.
That's true.
If an autonomous agent encounters a recursive loop or modifies the wrong file, a developer will simply open the diffs panel, identify the erroneous logic, revert the commit, and continue working.
No big deal for them.
But if you hand that same raw, unpolished agentic power to a marketing executive, and the AI accidentally deletes a crucial folder or freezes the interface with a terminal error,
They panic.
that executive will close the application, lose trust in the system entirely, and likely never return.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The Code tab is the laboratory.
Exactly. Developers are stress testing the architecture, building the necessary guardrails, and creating the open source libraries of skills.
So they're paving the road.
Once the core loop is perfected, once the failure rates approach 0, and once they finally integrate a native file viewer to remove the remaining UX friction, Anthropic will undoubtedly strip away the intimidating developer terminology.
They'll rebrand it.
They will reskin the interface with friendly, accessible language and deploy that exact same underlying agentic engine to the general Cowork tab for the masses.
But until then, the most strategic move for any knowledge worker is to just ignore the branding and learn the mechanics of the Code tab today.
Absolutely, don't wait.
Well, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground in this analysis.
We really have.
We started by examining how a simple shift to a dark mode interface signals a deeper transition from a passive chat window to an active command center.
Yep.
We broke down the critical triad of the agentic workspace: context, agents, and outputs. We explored how native integrations with version control systems eliminate the cognitive drain of context switching.
And we analyzed the modular God view, observing how the AI transitions from an assistant to an autonomous operator by troubleshooting its own environment and rewriting system constraints without human intervention.
Right, the convex fix. We also acknowledged the engineering complexities that explain the current lack of a native file viewer, the missing pantry.
Right.
We unlocked the massive potential of routines, shifting our posture from synchronous typists to asynchronous architects managing sleepless digital employees.
And finally, we demonstrated how connectors and skills enable complex meta-prompting, allowing non-technical workers to orchestrate entire departmental workflows from within a tab ironically labeled Code. The era of acting as a digital pack mule, hauling context back and forth to a chatbot, is effectively over.
It really is. So if you're listening to this, here is your imperative. Ensure your Claude desktop application is updated. Click into that dark mode Code tab.
Just do it.
Even if you have never written a single line of code in your life, create a local folder, drop in some disorganized text documents, start a session, and instruct the agent to synthesize them.
Experience the profound difference between prompting a chatbot and delegating to an agentic workspace.
It is a steep learning curve for sure, but it is the most vital technological transition you can navigate right now.
And as you begin to orchestrate these automated workflows, I want to pose a scenario that extends the logic of what we've discussed today.
Lay it on us.
We are currently marveling at the ability to schedule a routine that drafts our newsletters or reviews our code while we sleep.
Right, it's amazing.
We are optimizing the human-to-AI asynchronous loop. But consider the trajectory of these API connectors. If your agent can autonomously read a Notion document and post to a Slack channel, it possesses the underlying mechanics to interact with calendar protocols and email servers.
The architecture is already there.
It is. So, play this forward. What happens in 18 months when your autonomous agent encounters a dependency roadblock in a project, and it deduces the required context resides with my team?
Oh, wow.
What happens when your agent autonomously pings my agent's API endpoint, negotiates a project timeline, debates a system architecture, and finalizes a mutual execution plan at 3:00 a.m. while we are both asleep?
The agents aren't just collaborating with us, they're collaborating with each other.
We are currently focused on building tools to optimize our own personal workflows. But in doing so, by establishing these connected agentic workspaces and defining the protocols for autonomous execution, we are laying the invisible infrastructure for a machine-to-machine economy.
That's huge.
We are building a future where AI collaborates entirely without us. Something to think about.
That is a staggering realization. We aren't just adopting a new interface, we are configuring the protocols for the next era of digital infrastructure. Well, thanks for exploring the depths of this shift with us. Keep building, keep experimenting, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.